Little Legends Podcast is a Prediction Esports production. Support us by subscribing to the Prediction Esports Podcast channel on your favorite podcast provider. Hey guys, welcome back to the Little Legends Podcast.
Little Legends Podcast. Little Legends Podcast.
I am your host, the Blevins.
Oh, yeah.
Joining me, as always, is Boo. What's up, buddy?
How's it going, Blevins?
Oh man, we did it. We did it.
Ready for battle.
We did it. We did
That
that.
was one of the best openings to a show I think I've ever been a part of in my life. And it's been going good. How about you, sir? You know, you always ask us how we're doing, but does anyone take the time to ask you how you're doing?
No, because we have to introduce our guest as well, and not forget that we have a third person on the line, because the podcast listeners can't tell that there's a third person in the camera, and we are joined by none other than Madhatter. What is up?
Hi, hello. I'm so excited to finally be here.
We're excited to have you. Can you tell the folks at home a little bit about yourself? How you somehow found your way into this wonderful TFT podcast?
Well, I've got this awesome intro that I wrote and then forgot to say because of the whole stupid radio intro that I did. We have streamer, cosplayer, Instagram app developer, viral TikTok creator, and winner of G2's Making the Squad 2.
Wow.
See,
I mean, can you did we miss anything?
Oh, I also got rated by Scara.
Oh, hello.
That basically describes how I got here, guys. That's all of it in
Right.
a sentence.
All right, well, I guess that's it, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.
All you have to do is get rated by Scara. I mean, sometimes maybe it is. But welcome to the show. It's great to have you. Do you have anything you wanna talk about? We always like to say, how'd your week go?
Oh,
in,
my week.
TFT?
Oh, my week was so great. I got diamond finally.
Wow.
I've been hard stuck plat 1 for an entire month, and I finally did it. I was like, I'm gonna stream every day until I hit diamond, and I did it. So yeah, that was my highlight of the week, or of the month or year.
Well, we're still
Were
early
you
on.
were you playing back in set 1?
I was. I made it to diamond 4 in set 1 as well.
Awesome. So you're getting back to diamond, and you streamed every day. How does playing on stream make you play like that much better? Do you think being on stream helped you get to diamond?
I feel like it I was gonna be playing every day anyways, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, are you gonna be streaming or are you not gonna be streaming?" And I was like, you know what, I'll just like stream, and if I get to diamond, I get to diamond. At least there's proof that I did it by myself. I wasn't boosted. It was all me, guys.
Boosted,
No help.
confirmed.
But yeah, so yeah, that was the highlight of my week. Or it's just the grind to diamond, and now I will not be playing until set 3 because we all know that if you get demoted,
Yeah.
Well, you
it's hard.
got your LP, right? Like if you're not at 0, then you can play a couple games, right?
No,
If you
I'm
can
not
play-
zero.
Okay,
Oh.
so you're done.
Then that is the
you're-
end,
you're
folks.
done. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that
don't-
is the end for Mad Hatter on the ladder.
Don't Mad Hatter on the ladder. I love it. Yeah, don't do what I did last season, which was for some reason think that you could push from Diamond 4 up to Master in a week. Because it's not gonna happen if you're not already there. That's for sure, and you're much more likely to get pushed down to Plat 2 again, which is exactly what happened last season for me. But before we get in any deeper, let's go and do our housekeeping. Why does it feel like it's been 5 weeks since we've done a show, even though it's only been a week?
I don't know.
I don't. It's
tell me.
it's got to be all. It's got to be all me. I think I'm just falling deeper and deeper into madness. But guys, as you know, for those of you who have been listening to us so far in these first 28 episodes, by the way, we are now almost as old as us, if podcast weeks count as years of life. I got nothing after that. Boop and I are both just depressed about that. But we are a prediction esports podcast, PREEDICTION. Make sure you are following us on that and subscribe to the channel, iTunes, Spotify, all over the place. You can search for Prediction Esports, or you can search for Teamfight Tactics, anywhere that you can find podcasts, and we are the first thing that pops up. We are very proud of that, and we will continue to be there forever, no matter what. Until we get the multiple cease and desist letters that I'm sure Riot has sent to us. But also, guys, we didn't have game night last week because of Valentine's Day, and I was super lame and did good Valentine's stuff because I'm a nice person, but a horrible host of game night. So we'll be back this week over at twitch.tv/GiantSlayerTV, and of course at discord.me/Little Legends Podcast is the place to be for all of the news and everything related to the podcast. Make sure you're there, discord.me/Little Legends Podcast. You can also find the links to our, wait for it,
Ready for battle
t-shirts. We've got those from Designed by Humans, and Boop is really hoping that you can buy a Destroy Someone's Soundboard t-shirt, and also just the ability to do that. But that is it for our housekeeping, and we dive back into it. So, Madhatter, of course, you are known for the variety of things that I mentioned in the intro.
Cornucopia, plethora.
Yes.
So many things.
So many things. And I think it all is central around one thing, and that is TFT. So, the ultimate question, what brings you here? Why TFT in the first place?
Okay, I'll try to keep this as short as possible.
Oh, no need.
Like, it was a lot. There's a lot of things that happened that led up to where I'm at. So I'm actually like a new content creator. I've been barely recently streaming since August. So super new. And so the main thing was that I actually was originally an Apex Legends streamer. But I wasn't able to I didn't have like a capture card, and it was easier just to play on my computer and do like things on there. So I can have like the notifications and be all cool and stuff like that. Uh, so I started playing a lot of Teamfight Tactics, and it was still kind of new. So it was back when Set 1, it was back before Ranked really even came out, and then Ranked came out. And then so I kind of just started playing a lot of that. And then it kind of really just started noticing more people like watching me do TFT versus Apex, because Apex was more saturated. And so then I just kind of did that a little bit more. And then I remember one day on Twitter, Skara posted something about hosting other small streamers to support them and whatnot, and just to tag someone that streamed during this specific time frame and was TFT. And I actually happened to fall into that time frame, and it just happened to work out. And my friends saw that, they commented my name, and then I had a few other friends who saw my friend comment that and was like, oh yeah, hey, you should do that. And I just so happened to be streaming PBE for Set 2 when he ended one of his streams, and he's like, oh, this is one of the people who is on the thread, let me just raid her. And then I got raided, and it was kind of one of the craziest moments for me. I was like, what is happening? I'm still new, I don't know what's going on, I'm nervous, I'm sweating. And I think that kind of really just kind of started with the whole, okay, I guess I'm playing TFT now thread. And then it kind of went into, from there, I started playing a lot. I found some really a great community with that. A lot of people who really wanted to see me succeed and be good at it. So a lot of people were kind of giving me like free mini coaching sessions, just kind of like being like, oh, you need to like consider this, this, and this. And I was just having a lot of opinions from other people, which kind of helped me become better at it. And I started noticing, hey, I'm kind of okay at this game. This is this is new. I've made it past platinum, guys. This is a first for me in any game. And so for then, that's where I just really was like, okay, like I want to continue to succeed in this game. So I kept pushing for that. And there was actually a local tournament, like super, super small, that I saw happen. So I went ahead and I attended it, and I actually like showed up like as a last minute register, but I ended up winning it. And so I
Nice.
ended up winning the tournament, and everyone's like, wait, who's this or whatever, what's going on? And I don't know, it was just like all these good things kept happening with like streaming and TFT, and I was like, all right, I'm feeling pretty okay, like this is cool. And then I saw the application for G2 making the squad, and at first I was really hesitant about applying for it. I was like, oh, I'm like not a big enough person to do that yet, like I'm too small, like I didn't feel like I was confident enough or like good enough to be a part of it just yet. And I had another friend who she's also a streamer, just started around the same time as me, and she was actually like pushing for a lot of things, and I saw her getting some of these things, and I was like kind of motivated by that, where I was like, you know what, like if she can do that, like I can do that too if I
Yeah.
want to. So that's
Mhm.
kind of what I did, is I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna apply. So I went ahead and I applied. I had like just a video. I was like, I don't even know what kind of video to put in. I kind of just had a video of me just talking. I'm like, all right, guys, what's up? And it was just a short 1 minute video about like why I started streaming and like TFT. Because I used to do like TFT Tuesdays a while back. They kind of fell off, but that was something I used to do. Um, and so it just kind of like led up to one thing to another, and next thing I know, I'm on making the squad, and then next thing I know, I'm on a reality show, and next thing I know, I'm winning, and bada bing, bada boom, and yeah.
And then
So
it all ended when you came on this show. This was rock bottom
and then
after
this is
so
the
much
last. This is my
success.
peak, guys. Just
This is
kidding.
the 27 of esports, right? You come on the show and then your career dies.
Yeah.
But we didn't tell you that before coming on for a reason, or else we'd never get guests. But anyway, so you said there was like a lot of and then this happened and then this happened. Like you obviously put in a ton of work. What do you think you did versus some of the other people on the show, even before you got on there, that helped you take the victory in the end? Because obviously you're doing something they weren't.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't, honestly, I don't know what I could tell you that 100% made them want to choose me over everyone else. It was a combination of like, well, RNG is definitely one of the biggest things, like being lucky enough to make it to the final round, right? There were some
Mhm.
points there where we had to choose people to eliminate. Like if I wasn't the person choosing, I could have been eliminated. So there was like a bunch of different things, and it was really just kind of showcasing like your personality, and really just being able to hold an audience and like captivating everyone. And I think for me, one of the biggest things that like with that show was I was very much like, um I don't think a lot of people expected me to win at the beginning. I was very much kind of a quiet or like more not as confident person, or that's how I felt during the time. And I think some of the other contestants like knew that too. They were like, she was kind of more quiet and reserved. I wasn't as confident. Like the first challenge, like you could see in my face, I was freaking out because I was like, I don't know what's happening, like someone's gonna get eliminated. Because going on to the show, we didn't know that anyone was gonna get eliminated prior to it.
Mm.
And then when we found out, like we were all like in, I mean, I was definitely freaking out for sure. And I think
Yep.
the one thing that like I had to keep reminding myself throughout the whole show is that like there's so many people back home that are going to be seeing all this, and it's weird for me because I'm not used to people seeing me as a person on camera or a person who talks in front of others. And so I just kind of had to remind myself like I just need to just be myself and be okay with whatever presents itself to an audience. Like whatever happens, as long as like I'm okay with it, then it doesn't matter what everyone else thinks. And I think that was kind of the biggest thing, was just really trying to stay true to like myself and speaking from my heart and being like everything that I am and being okay with that. And I think being okay with my insecurities is kind of like what pushed me through and like what kept motivating me and just really like allowed myself to shine at the end, I think.
Nice. Being comfortable with the uncomfortable is
Yeah.
something that my one of my mentors always said, right? If you're just comfortable with being uncomfortable, things will seem a lot easier. And it seems that you took
Oh,
a lot of that similar advice. Yes, Blev.
I had similar advice, but I thought it was be comfortable with making people feel uncomfortable. That's what I
Okay.
thought it was.
Yeah. I
And
think
that's what I,
originally back in ye old English, it was translated as that. But now in our current
oh,
translation, it's a little different.
my whole life is a lie. Ah, well.
Right. Well. Anyway, back to this making the squad stuff. So you got to experience the whole thing. You said eliminations were hard. You ended up becoming champion. You said it was because, all right, so I am being okay with my insecurities, but let's talk about how it felt to win, right? Because you can be nice, you can say all of them were friends, right? But what was it like when they said, you know what,
Getting that dub.
you are the winner? Explain like that. Obviously, it felt good, but like, what happened? Where did your brain go once you heard your name?
I honestly could not. I like could not believe it. I like afterwards I like looked over at Jack and I was like, "Are you a paid actor? Like is this real? Is everything happening
It's
real?" Like
hosted by Ashton Kutcher.
cuz everything happened so fast. It was like, "Oh, hey, you're on squad. Oh, hey, you're in Germany. Oh, hey, we're flying you. Oh, hey, you won." Like what is happening? Is this a real life or is this like fantasy or something? I don't know
Yes.
cuz I was I was definitely shocked beyond belief. I was very grateful for all the experiences I've had being on the show and I was very like I felt very honored and I felt very grateful for like the opportunity that I was given, the people that I got to meet and like the experiences that I had to go through because I feel like as a person I grew so much from it. Uh and I don't know, like it was very much like I disbelief at first,
Mhm.
and even afterwards because I wasn't really allowed to tell anyone, and I was really good at keeping it quiet, like, everyone thought I lost for some reason, um, that
That's
I still, like, didn't have a belief until, like, the
mhm.
final episode came out and everyone's like, "You did it!" And I'm like, "You're right, I did do it. I did
Yeah,
this."
you had to rewatch the episode to make sure that you didn't just dream the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah, it was because it's not something that happens to people every day, you know?
True.
It's just kind of out of nowhere and you're like wondering, did I really do this? Especially when you're not like the most confident or secure person. You're like, wait, did this happen? And then you're like, wait, this did happen and I did do this and like you feel really proud of yourself and you feel grateful and you feel all these like emotions that it's just hard to let them and put them into words, I
Mhm.
guess.
Totally. Yeah, I've always been really scared because when I get surprised, I do like the Elaine push. You know, I get like
Get
really aggressive.
out!
Yeah, like oh my god, and I start flailing. So I've always wondered what would happen if I was in that situation. They would need to like clear like like they would need to clear like a 5 foot radius around me just in case.
Like if you were in our reality or our TFT reality show where you have to get a rose from Mort Dog by winning TFT based in-game challenges,
Yeah, you
you
get a 1 hour chat with Mort
you,
Dog.
you get you get a 1 hour dev chat with Mort Dog where he tells you stuff about the next set. That's what
Yeah,
the
there's
winner gets.
NDAs and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Well, that's super cool. So, what do you think you would say in terms of advice, right? And now that you've gone through this whole process in terms of how, if I wanted to get on a show, right? Like, if you were gonna give
Yeah.
me a little hint, right? And I wanted to get on a show like this, what would you say?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is just kind of be yourself. And it's like cliche as that is, and it's kind
Mhm.
of like, like really at the end of the day, like they're looking for the best person who's like is the best version of themselves. And so if you're gonna be like not, if you're gonna have this facade and you can't keep up with the same facade, like
Mhm.
just be the best version of you. So
Mm-hmm.
because they're always looking for I feel like it was more of looking for like the best personality, the best person that can appeal to an audience, the best person who is like the most empathetic. They even like talked about the three pillars that they look for, and it's empathy, entertainment, and humor, I think. Oh my
Mm.
god, I lost it. But those were like the big ones, right? So who's the most relatable? And I feel like that's something that I was able to be, was just
Mhm.
this relatable person that people are like, yeah, like I feel that way too, like you're a human being, and I think that's kind of something what especially in content creation that a lot of people are looking towards, is just like, I don't want to look at someone who's just not being real or fake, or like this seems like so far off, like
Mhm.
I want to like look at someone and be like, wait, this person's a human being too, and like they have feelings, they have all this stuff. And I think that's just probably the biggest thing, is just like being the most you that you can be, and just being very honest and authentic about
Unapologetically authentic.
yeah, exactly, be unapologetically authentic.
See, I
Yeah.
feel like they would tell me to be like, maybe be a little fake. Maybe not so much
Can
you.
you change your personality, please? You're perfect for this, except please change your
Just
personality.
just
That would be great.
just tighten it up a little bit. Just
We like you in a podcast role.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, we'd like you to talk about the show afterwards, but in terms of being on the show, if you could just
mm,
different in every
well, I
way.
think in terms of it's hard being you. You know what I mean? Like you look at all these people out in the world, and you see these successful people, and that imposter syndrome comes in, right? There's no way that can be you unless you actually go out there and do it. I don't think confidence is real, in my opinion. I think everyone's faking their confidence. And so if you kind of like go into it with that mindset, and just saying, hey, I'm gonna be me, you do you, right? Because if you're gonna dislike me, well, at least for me, this describes the type of person I am. I
Mhm.
go, well, I don't like you. We're rivals now.
I thought imposter syndrome was you look at people who are doing successful things and like, oh, these imposters can't be. If these imposters can do it, then I certainly can.
Okay, Blev, I'm gonna give you 10 seconds to say something smart. All right, ready,
Okay.
set,
Yep.
go.
Ready for
I walked
battle.
right into
Got
that.
there.
Anyway, yeah, we got there. But yeah, like it's you got to go into these things because in the end, it's you who they're judging, and you want to put your best foot forward, and all that comes down to you. You have control over that, and it's all about how you take the steps into that improvement, which seems like that's exactly how you got that victory, right? You couldn't have won without that self improvement.
Okay. So we've talked to you, and we've also talked to Wondermellow, who was our guest 2 weeks ago, about making the squad. Shout outs to G2. I thought that was a really cool event, especially so early on in TFT, because TFT wasn't like a huge global thing. It's not like they did it for League of Legends again.
No spectator
Or yeah, more please. I know it's not him, and I know that they're working on it. I don't know why I keep bringing it up, but it was really cool that they did it. I was super pumped. I remember seeing it at BlizzCon and being like, "Oh man, I have to be at BlizzCon for another for the rest of this weekend and not able to do TFT stuff." But I thought it was really cool, and I'm glad that happened. And I hope they do it again next year with TFT again. Also, choose me this year, by the way. G2, I'm right here. But in terms of what you're looking to do moving forward, I know you made that cool and this is I'm gonna sound super boomer here. You made that it's an Instagram filter, right? Or is this okay? Instagram filter where it's like the thing and it's over your head and it's like boop, 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 boop,
The
boop.
roulette, yeah.
The roulette thing. Yeah, that's what that means, right? The boop, 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 boop. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But it's for which little legend are you? You've done that. You made that TikTok, which I was watching it again today because it's your pinned tweet. And it gets me every time because you're like, if you haven't watched it, make sure you guys go to Mad Hatter's Twitter. What your Twitter is Mad Hatter, like with like 15 X's, 69,
Okay, so
420
it's
at
Mad
the end.
Hatter XX3. So XX3 because it makes this face.
Makes
So
it
that's the
makes it
easiest way to
animated
remember it.
cat face.
Yeah,
Got
animated
it.
cat face XX3. There you go.
Thanks. I hate it. But I'm kidding. You go through and you do a TikTok video of you doing poses of a bunch of different little legends. And then the last one is of Mort. You cosplay as Mort. It gets me every single time. So funny. But sorry, I got distracted by thinking. I wasn't even watching the video. I was thinking about how funny it was. What's next for you? Obviously, you're doing streaming. You're doing that stuff. What is your goal in terms of content creation, in terms of being in the gaming space? What are you looking to do moving forward?
Yeah, so I'm kind of aiming big for goals because you gotta start somewhere,
President
right?
of esports. Got it.
President of esports, everyone. That's me. No, so I think some of the I'm like looking to do some big things here. So one thing I really been wanting to get into, and something that I think is starting to be there, is I really want, especially when if they open it back up again, is to look into becoming a Riot partner.
Mm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
or being some kind of association with Riot. And I think something that and this is why you've been seeing a lot of content here, is in the field of TFT, there's not very much, like, there's kind of a lack of content there,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of why I was like, oh, hey, let's do the little like legend thing above the
Mm-hmm.
head, because it's easy to make. Well, for me, it was easy to make because it was kind of something that I learned in college.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that gets people more involved with the TFT community, because
Mm-hmm.
this is a community I really want to see succeed. Because it's a community I feel like I'm very involved with. So that was one thing I did. I did the TikTok because I'm trying to get other uh, like younger users or other users to see this and be like, hey,
Younger user.
I don't know. I mean, older users.
They
and
make
users
them younger than you. What? Kids are getting younger these
We just
days.
got okay boomer.
We got okay boomer. We
got
gotta get all these
but, you
old
know.
podcasters out of the community.
No, right? Let me log out of AIM real quick.
I mean, more like different social medias, I guess, right? Different.
Yeah,
We
1
want
second.
different areas.
I got to switch my floppies.
Okay, now you're going too far back. And that in and of
Right,
itself is
sorry.
the most boomer thing you could do. Making a joke about how old you are, that is a boomer thing.
Yeah. So I think these are like some of the things that I've been kind of looking at, and just kind of looking at how can I create more content for TFT in different ways that we're not seeing it before.
Mhm.
So definitely TikTok is one of the biggest ones. I know Wondermellow, she already did a lot of TikToks
Mhm.
prior, and she kind of inspired me to start doing my own. I haven't really done much. I just did the one, and it was like a 3-hour session. We're like, you know what? I'm gonna just do this thing because I thought it was funny, and
Mhm.
I'm gonna post it and see what happens. And I mean, apparently, more than just me think it's funny, thankfully. Um, and then like the Instagram filter, I was like, oh, what would be cool is let's like make a filter, because why not? Because
Mhm.
that's something we haven't really seen in just gaming in general. Is just like a trying to think outside the zone of normal content creation
Mhm.
is kind of where I'm going. Because I feel like I really want to be able to find a way to connect gaming and to like other audiences, or just to audiences in general. I want to make TFT or other kinds of gaming like a relatable
Mhm.
thing. Um, and I think that's kind of where I'm pushing, is just kind of looking at different things. And I think the next big thing that I'm working on right now is I'm actually working on a Kiana cosplay
Ooh.
for PAX East. So I will be doing a True Damage Kiana cosplay.
Nice.
Hell
PAX East,
yeah,
so.
that's super cool.
Nice. Is it going to be awkward when I have the same cosplay at PAX? No.
We're gonna show up in the same outfit.
Awkward.
That's perfect. We'll get photo
Awkward.
ops together.
Yeah, whenever Blev and I go to weddings, we both wear wedding dresses.
It's true. You
It
think
seems
we're
to be an
joking,
issue
but
for some people.
yeah.
But,
Don't invite us to the
awesome.
wedding then.
I know, right?
I wanted to make a TikTok for just for different esports stuff, and the only person that followed me was Chris Hansen, so I did not
Stop.
I
All
stopped.
right. So on the
Shout outs to the 3 people who got that joke, and also
cool. So we got to talk about like making the squad and what your future goals are. You talked about why TFT, and so just to kind of like close up this first half, What is it about you've talked about the community, you've talked about feeling, loved and accepted, and you've had resources that have helped you get to where you're getting to now. And you want to be a Riot partner, but inside of community building, right? In your opinion, what would be the best kind of thing for TFT in terms of building that community going into a competitive role, right? We were gonna add, this is one of those like, all right, let's put it out there and see what we can start getting built, because I think we need to have these conversations, right? Because like you said, there's not a ton of content. So
Mm-hmm.
how would you like to see this kind of go in the next 6 months to a year? You're taking part in the content creation stuff, but where would you like to kind of help this move forward?
Yeah, with the TFT community especially, like I know some of the things I would like to see, I feel like we're lacking in tournaments, but I know that's why we have Giant Slayer TV. That's a thing that's happening, and I think it would be really cool to be able to get more of those out. But I feel like, in regards of just like not just challengers, I feel like lower level players want to be a part of these too. They want to be able to feel like, hey, I can do this and I can be a part of the
Mm-hmm.
tournament. Because like even if you just like win one round, you already feel so good and it makes you want to push forward or keep motivating and get better as a player. And I think that's something that would be like really cool to like look into, or like even if it's like coordinating with like local events for
Mm-hmm.
myself, and like getting into esport, going to up to esports centers and being like, hey, can we make a TFT tournament, and
Mm-hmm.
I can help you, but like can we do this, because I feel like this is something that these are things that we need, just to get people to excited to want to play it more, to want to,
Hmm.
because it's a competitive game at the end of the day, right? It's a free for all. It's every man for himself, and they want to play it, but like if there's no incentive to play it, then what's the
Right.
point in playing it sometimes? Like that's kind of how it is from most games. It's like you need an incentive to want to keep pushing or to keep playing. So I think tournaments, like having more of those, even just for like lower level players as
Mm-hmm.
well, is like something that could be a good builder for the community. And I mean, even getting more creative with, like I said, like videos and stuff, like making
Hmm.
like these TikToks, like let's get more of these. Yeah. Let's get more let's get more like ridiculous Mort Dog like cosplays, because let's make Mort Dog a little legend, because that's gonna be a thing. That's all I
They
want in my
can't.
life, is
They
make Mort
can't
Dog
do
a
it
little legend.
because
But
no one would ever use another one. That would be the. They'd have to make it like $300, and then they would never.
yes.
They would never make other ones. That would be it.
I even asked him in his stream. I was like, "Hey, is Mort Dog getting a little legend?" And he was like, "Well, not in the future, but
I. I. I'm trying to think of the upper bound of the amount of money I would pay for it, and I don't know what that number is, and I don't want to say it out
It keeps
loud because
I keep accepting a higher and higher number.
yeah, I'm like
So just kind of
that
put
number. I'm
whatever.
like, yeah, I probably would, and then I'm like, if it was done really well, yeah, no, I would. And then I got to 1 million, and then I said, yeah, no, keep going.
It's so interesting because like it seems to be a common thing. We ask that question to a lot of people, a lot meaning almost every guest that's ever come on,
Mhm,
and they all say the same thing. The word incentive keeps popping up. So
mhm.
if there's a throughput in what I'm hearing here, at least on this podcast, is just give us something to work for,
Yeah.
right? We're here. We're already passionate. We're already ingrained in the community. We're talking to Mort's talking to us, right? All we need is something to do with this energy now,
Yeah.
right? That's not just
I mean-
streaming. And hopefully now that the mobile client's coming out, Spectator will
Yeah.
shortly follow that. Come April, May, June, maybe we'll start seeing like a really
Yeah.
big push into that competitive atmosphere, because the thing I'm so excited about with mobile has nothing to do with, I mean, yeah, of course I want to play while I'm pooping, right? Of course,
Don't we all?
I want to play on the airplane, right? But
Right.
but in the end, I'm really excited because it's going to expand the player base hundredfold,
Mhm.
thousandfold, right? Because if you have a phone now you can play TFT, and that's going to make everything more competitive. That's going to make everything more likely to happen. And so we just really need this mobile TFT to work,
I feel like
and then the Spectator
1,000-fold is
client.
more people than are on Earth.
Maybe.
Every person in the world will be playing mobile TFT. Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And I heard rumblings, and I don't know if this is true. I did not independently confirm this, but I heard that some of the competitive players were talking about how they would play a tournament amongst themselves for a Popeyes chicken gift card. Like literally, that is a meme that's been going around because Soju
I'll do
and
it.
like, hey, who wants to play in a 24-person tournament? Winner gets a gift card to Popeyes chicken. Like gets one meal at Popeyes chicken. It's like, yeah, no, you get like every top 10 player, like 100% people want to play it. And it's like, that is, I mean, just thinking about like the broader esports and like competitive gaming world, it's like, there's not a lot of other games that are like that. Like the one that came to mind for me, and it is a little bit of a stretch, is like Smash Bros. Melee, where like back in the old days, you know, when Mad Hatter, probably before Mad Hatter was born, by the way, but the old days, like Melee players would like literally be traveling 8 hours to go play in a tournament in someone's garage for like $50. Like, it makes no sense. It's super grassroots. It's like the amount that people want to play is so much. And like you get the top players. And like in other games, it's like you look at like Fortnite, or I mean, I don't even want to point fingers at different games, but it's like they're not like with TFT, similar to Melee. It's like people love the game so much and they want to push what they're doing in the game to that level, like outside of the fact that they can make a bunch of money doing it. So I think that's something special that we don't see a lot anymore. I mean, it's like you look at the whatever new game, it's like, oh, I'm going to be pro in this because like that's the game and I can make money doing it. It's like, no, we'll play tournaments for a Popeyes chicken gift card. So
We're here.
We're here. Let's do it. So that is great, and that is a nice little encapsulation of what and who Mad Hatter is and what she's looking to do. We're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about patch 10.4 for TFT. Stick around. We'll be right back. Guys, if you are liking the show, please make sure you leave a review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to us there. And you can subscribe to us and check us live on Twitch at twitch.tv/theblevins. Of course, the home of all of our content is at discord.me/littlelegendspodcast. Welcome back, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the break. We're going to be talking about patch 10.4 with Mad Hatter here. So we were going to start off our patch notes like we always do and read the pre-written little thing at the beginning that we love so much.
But not this one. We've got something to say about this one.
I've got something to say. This one starts off, greetings to all Craggle players and everyone else who is yet to find the light. I'm going to stop you right there because Kiki is the best little legend. Not close until there's a Mort Dog little legend. But Craggle? We're talking about Craggle?
We've got this edgelord over here, this Riot Beer Nana, right? Whoever that is, doing the Craggle game and then guilting us on the Craggle game.
Unless
I know who Beer Nana is, and I know who you are. Don't take that personally. It was for the joke.
Wait, you do know who they are?
Yeah, he Riot Beer Nana does a lot of the patch notes.
Oh, okay. Yes. I mean, we recognize the name. I thought you meant you like know them personally. I'm like, get them on.
I know who you are.
I know what you did last summer.
There's a boomer reference right there.
Headliner. We reworked the glacial trait to have a bit more punch. Your glacial champions will now generally stun less often, but they'll also deal additional magic damage with each stun. We also nudged Crystal and Poison down a peg or so while buffing the, quote, Death Can't Stop Our Love duo of Senna and Lucian. Take this portal if you're looking for... Oh, wait. League's patch, the other League's patch notes.
Yeah.
It's there. I read it word for word. Let's get into it.
Yes. Beer Nana, come on the show and talk to us about the little things that you write. We'd love to talk to you about it. But also, Craggle sucks. Unless you're talking specifically about it tasting like rock candy, I don't want to hear about Craggle being good.
Yep.
It does actually have pretty good taunts. But we've got a nice little infographic of the patch highlights. And these are actually pretty small patch notes here. We're nearing the end. I know on Mort Dog's stream. He said this isn't the last patch, but it's close. Before set 3. So we'll start off here with the traits. Crystal damage threshold is now going from 160 max damage to 110-60. So just a slight nerf there. You're able to take a little bit more damage with Crystal 2. Glacial stun chance going from 20, 35, 50% to 25 at all levels. And then they're adding the 75, 175, 350 bonus magic damage on stun for 246 glacial. Poison mana increase is going from 50% down to 33%. So pretty big nerf on poison. Mad Hatter, what do you take away? What is the biggest thing on these traits for you?
I think what's something kind of interesting that I saw that I might be curious to try out, and I was talking about this, is this last patch I was running a lot of like the ranger, poison ranger comps and everything. But with that, I was running Ezreal as a ranger, and now that they're adding like this magic damage, on top of that's what they're doing, right? Adding the magic damage on top of the stun.
Yep.
I'm wondering how that like could affect Ezreal, and like maybe we might start seeing more Ezreal carries. And like if people still want to try running that out.
Yeah, you turn Ash into a glacial, you still get all that extra damage too, right? You could
That's
probably
true.
run a decent glacial ranger comp after this.
Yeah.
Or like, yeah, because even with the poison, even though it kind of got nerfed, like Singe getting a buff, you can still add Twitch for your second ranger and still run the poison ranger glacial version of it.
For sure. I like that the poison mana increase is going down too, because if you kind of look at like the most successful comps right now, poison appears a lot along with crystal. And when there gets to be a point where people are just adding Taric and Ash like into a comp because they're just that good, right? And it's so funny because a couple weeks ago we were like, oh, this is the most balanced patch ever. Then all of a sudden, right, we're here and we're like, oh, if you're just adding Taric and Ash, blah, blah, blah. But that just goes to show how min-maxy like the top ranked players are, right? Like eventually something will mathematically take the place of the best comp, and Crystal and Poison definitely showed itself recently on this last patch. So 33% still a lot, right? It's a third. So it's going to be very effective regardless, right? If you're delaying your ultimate, you're delaying your damage, or big CC or damage mitigation that 33% longer. 50% was just way too much in my opinion.
50% was huge, and I think this indirectly buffs mages, obviously, for the reason of they just got so just dumpstered by poison. It's like you're like you need so much, especially when you're like building a like hyper carry, even like Vigar, who has a pretty small mana pool, but you're playing him with like Spear Shojin or Seraph's Embrace, and it's like that extra increase in mana like compounds to all of his additional casts as well. He doesn't get the first cast off, which is huge. Then also all the additional casts, which you're normally like machine gunning with Vigar, get even further apart, and it breaks down. It's something like Brand or Annie or someone who's in that sort of mages or summoner inferno type of comp is just never even alting in the first place, and you just lose. So I think this shifts the focus a little bit more towards the middle of like sometimes you can run a magic damage comp and you're not just maxing out on like, oh, we're gonna go rangers, we're gonna go physical damage, because we can just run poison, we can run berserkers and just have poison and be like, oh yeah, nice Brand, idiot, it's never alting, or it's alting once ever. And I have mystics. It's like it just turns it off so much. It feels a lot like similar to old demons, where it's just like, yep, you just don't get to cast. You don't get to play the game and do the coolest thing.
The fantasy of what they're trying to pull off is being taken away because of how uninteractive it feels. Right? Because it definitely feels like a plug and play situation. Oh, I can be competitive. Just I'll start with Kog'Maw, switch them out later. You know what I mean? And with poison and how little it takes to actually trigger it with just the couple units you need. 3 units that you need, it's just way too effective. When
Yep.
a certain trait is deleting another trait from the game, pretty much, there's a problem. And I think that's kind of what they're working for here. 33% seems like a good thing, right? Like because it has to be about give and take, right? If you're going to be investing into poison, right? What are you taking away? This time it's going to be all right. You're actually not going to be taking away as much damage, especially against mages. And I think that's really, really important because right now they weren't giving anything away. They're just taking away from other people, just like demons.
Yep.
From way back in the day. I'd like demons to come back though. I like that archetype. That fantasy.
I thought it was cool. I thought the like gaining additional mana off of them was nice. Yeah. It was just like, oh well, guess you don't get to play. That was what sucked. It was like, oh, I get to cast really quickly. That was cool. All right, Boop. Let's move on to some champion balance.
Tier 1. Ornn spell damage is going from 1 to 300 to 125, 250 to 450. Ornn 3 getting a big buff. And remember, that's following that buff to where his debuff on his electric breath is now 12 seconds. So they're leaning into Ornn some more. Talia starting / total mana going from 50 to 80 to 30 to 80. Talia getting another nerf in a second patch.
Yep.
Senna ally damage bonus for tier 2 going 15, 40, 65 to 20, 45, 70. So we'll stop there because we're going to get some Lucian stuff, but basically I kind of wanted to take this time to talk about Senna and Lucian because let's go ahead and read the Lucian buff real quick. Lucian spell attack damage ratio 0.3, 0.4, 0.5 to 0.5 at all ranks. It's so funny because when they were released, they nerfed them to oblivion, right? Remember? And so now it's very interesting to me how a comp can start so strong, be dormant for so long, and then all of a sudden get kind of like touched up again near the end. It's just that's such a great example of like the evolution of a meta, right? It is exactly the lovers and how they're getting buffed because there's such a problem before, and now they're getting buffed that causes some anxiety to me.
Yeah, it's. I feel like Soulbound in general is probably a tough trait to, like, it's tough to balance champs that have that trait because it's like, yeah, you want them to be useful, but also on average, they're going to be around a lot longer, especially with something like Guardian Angel that keeps, like, if you put the Guardian Angel on the Senna, the Lucian just stays alive for a very long time. And that's where we saw, I mean, remember that one patch where Lucian would just delete an entire team? Like, he would literally
triple giant slayer
1.5 V9 the entire team because he would be dead. The Senna would die, but then GA would go off. She'd get de-aggroed, so the assassins or whatever would jump to someone else, and Lucian just ults and just goes completely off and kills literally 6 units by himself. It's hard to balance because like the other end of the spectrum was like Lucian got his ult nerfed and he just feels like complete trash, even with lights. So I think that trait itself is hard to balance. And the fact that there's only 2 of them, I mean, it makes sense thematically. It's just, it probably makes sense from a power level standpoint too, but it's tough because it's like Shadow and Light are literally like the opposite. There's no crossover between the two. So it's like, do you need to go Light? Do you need to go Shadow? Does it matter? Can you just put them into anything? I mean, we're only going to have probably 1 or 2 more at max patches left of this set with them in it. So I don't know. It's they've been an interesting addition because I feel like they've never been like just okay. Like, oh yeah, I can add the Senna Lucian package to this comp and it's going to be all right. It's always been like it's either broken or I don't want either of them for any reason. It's been a weird balancing act with them. What do you think about it, Madhatter? Have you played a lot of Lucian Senna before?
Yeah, actually, Lucian Senna was kind of like one of my favorites when they first introduced it. But I feel like I agree with you on a lot of the points where it was just like they were either broken or I don't really want to use these people. And it's kind of interesting, like you said, how they're 2 different, completely like Shadow and Light. an ability to combine the two. I mean, yeah, you can probably add in a kindred for the ranger if you have the vein, and then you have that shadow, and then you add one more. Or like the synergy is not necessarily the most like 100%, and it's very interesting. I feel like we're kind of doing a full circle here on our
Mhm.
comps
Mhm.
with this patch, because seems to be something that, like, especially when they were first introduced, like the light spellbound thing was kind of pretty relevant.
Mhm.
And then we had the last few patches where we're kind of like, okay, we don't really want these lights, aren't as good anymore. But I feel like
Right.
we're gonna see a lot of light spellbound being played again this upcoming patch, especially with these like buffs here, and then like the nerfs with everything else.
Hmm.
Yeah. The other thing about Soulbound, and I'm trying to think if there's, I mean, Singed kind of is in the same boat. Nothing's coming to mind off the top of my head from set 1, but you guys might be able to think of something where it's like they technically have 2 traits, where Soulbound is one and Light for Lucian or Shadow with Senna is the other, but like really they only have one. Because if you don't have both of them, they only have one
Then
trait.
what are you doing?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
You've got one trait, and it's like even like on a like powerful unit. I mean, maybe that's another thing that they could theoretically do as like a balancing, is like make a really strong statted unit, but have it have no traits, like just a neutral one.
Oh yeah, that's a super cool idea.
I
I
mean,
actually like the fantasy of Soulbound a lot.
yeah,
Right? Just like
it's very
in
cool.
terms of the thematics of it, a
Mhm.
lot. It would be cool if like you could, maybe no one else is soulbound, but there's a spatula combination that makes someone soulbound, right? That'd be super broken.
Yeah,
But
that would
like think about soulbound
possibly be
Olaf,
broken.
or like
Oh, please,
or
no.
Blade Master
I mean, I
soulbound
want it,
Yi
but
or something
no.
like that. But like or the
Be broken.
but like
Well, his alt would suck, but yeah.
basically, I like the fantasy of it,
Mhm.
but I think this is one of those instances where the fantasy is really cool, but in practice, it's not really quite working, right? Because we're
Mhm.
not even getting to that fantasy, right? Because we only have one unit that we can do that with, right? So we're not getting to the fantasy.
Because
The
they're
stats aren't good
monogamous,
enough.
Boop. Come on.
The stats aren't good enough to push them over, and
Right.
so there's just many a thing in games, right, where you just give them a little bit too much of a tap on the behind, and all of a sudden they're everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And this was, in my opinion, in terms of set 2, it wasn't that fun for me when these 2 characters were good, right? So it's just like a me personal thing, but
Mhm.
I this is not necessarily the direction I would have gone. I probably would have, to be completely honest with you, this might piss more off more than anything.
So
Is I
definitely
probably
say it.
would, yeah, I probably just would have left them alone until the next set, because I don't know if Soulbound's something that we necessarily need to keep tweaking, unless it's something
Uh,
that's going to be transitioning over into set 3.
well,
Because I don't know, I feel like the trait's a little bit of a fail based on how it's gone,
I,
right? It's either been overpowered or underpowered.
yeah, well, I agree with that part of it, but I think that's exactly the reason that you do want to keep tweaking it, because it's like, can we have like if they tweaked it to like, well, what can we push to have? What is the maximum power level we can have something that stays around for an additional, 5 seconds in a match than it normally would? Like the average lifespan of Illusion is 5 seconds more than what a normal like 4-cost carry would be, range carry would be. How far can we push this champ, and how much of a cost does that need to be? Do you need it like? The cost would be like, well, you have to run this subpar unit of Senna or something like that. I think playing around with that is interesting. I do obviously feel that the Soulbound did feel a little lackluster. I thought it was cool. Like you said, I thought, and thematically, I mean, 10 out of 10, as far as I know, from the theming of it. But I think that it being like, now is, I think, the perfect time to be testing out these things that are kind of cool or could be cool, or concepts, things that you can pull from these that could be cool for future sets. It's like, well, what about units that don't ever die? Like if they made a
But
unit
haven't
that,
they been doing that this whole time?
yeah,
Right? Like,
yeah, but
well,
what does it matter if they change it now? Who cares how the set ends, right? Like it's 2
So
weeks
what does it
left.
matter if Soulbound is touched again then, right? So like
Because
I
you're
think
gaining that information at that point. You're gaining an extra like month or whatever of information.
okay, but I totally understand where you're coming from, and you're totally right.
Mort,
But I
give me
think
the rose, not boo.
I think what my argument kind of boils down to is if they never did anything with Soulbound and those resources were put somewhere else, right? Would anyone have noticed? Are people out there being like, we need we need Soulbound right now? Can you please buff Soulbound? I'm not necessarily hearing that. And again, this is personal for me. I hated it when it first came out,
Yeah.
and I'd love to hear other people's thoughts on it because I'm like intentionally being controversial right now.
Yeah. I mean,
Because because that goes against my like morals, right? It's like, oh, why would you just give up on something because it's the end,
I thought they're
right?
not giving up on it because it's the end.
No. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, right?
Oh,
Like,
okay, gotcha.
because in my mind, when I say things like that, that's exactly what I'm doing. Oh, just give up on, we'll just wait till the
Mhm,
next set, right?
mhm,
But when there's time to experiment, when there's time to do other things and make things special and get that information,
mhm.
we don't know if something like Soulbound's going into the next set. So the assumption for me versus you is you're assuming that they're keeping it, they're testing some things, and maybe in set 3 they're going to be able to apply some of this information to
Well,
do
probably
something
not
really
set
cool.
3, but
Or
definitely.
4 or 5,
Right,
right?
right,
They
right.
have the information,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Um, and I think a lot of that crazy experimentation should happen kind of like at the beginning, in terms of what that process is. Basically, what this really boils down to is I don't like Soulbound. I don't
Right.
think the fantasy ever made it to where it wanted to be. I never liked Hex Tech for that same reason, and I kind of am
Mhm.
just like lumping all that together. It's just
Sure.
like I'm glad we had it. I'm glad we got to experiment with it, and it was cool to kind of try it out. But I don't really want it back, so I don't really want you to work on it.
Right.
And that's like a me being personally affected by it. I don't know, Tasha. What do you think?
I am personally like I love lights. I love running lights. I chose light for my
Same.
thing
Shout outs to Bemmy, by
on
the way.
on G2 making the squad. I was a light summoner as my two combinations. But like, so I think what this is actually doing is allowing more people to go back to running lights again.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Because we kind of stopped running lights, and it even says it in the title. It says everyone else who has yet to find the light. Let's increase soul words. Let's buff Senna and Lucian. Let's make
Mhm.
that more prevalent again. Wow, words are hard today. And
They're
let's
hard for me
let's
every day.
and let's get people to play lights again, but let's have them play lights where we have this soulbound that we want to experiment with, um, because this could potentially be, maybe this is something that we're gonna see in set 3, and that's why they
Mhm.
are pushing it. Maybe they're experimenting how is the light trait affected with the soulbound? How is that affected
Right.
with the shadow? Like what I think they're trying to see
Yeah.
how they want to maybe add that or transition into set 3. And if they don't, then I mean, yeah, we can go back to saying, why did you do this?
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. That like you're putting it perfectly, right? Like that's exactly it. With the information that we know, we can have a debate like this, but in the end, we won't know until set 3 is actually out. We'll have to
Exactly.
remember that we had this debate.
Hmm.
Yeah. I
Which I will because I remember everything.
I don't even yeah. I think that it right now, well, with the exception of if they want to like if they want to like close the time capsule on a set in a good spot so that they can bring it back in a future date, which they've talked about like the idea of before, then yeah, I want them to keep doing that, but I don't want them to change too much. I think even less so than the like how do we test a unit that is like that stays alive longer. I want them to test out the like this like Senna and Lucian basically only they're half of a synergy, like or half powered synergy wise, because that Soulbound is not like a synergy in the traditional sense. So I'm more like let's figure out how powerful or not powerful something can or needs to be in order for it to be playable when it only has one synergy that's relevant. Um, so I don't know. I
But
also don't.
is like the live game the place to do that when they have like testing that they can do internally? Do you need the larger audience to test that kind of
Well,
stuff
I
out?
also think that some people probably really like Lucian Senna as an idea, even though it didn't work out for us. I mean, I kind of like it. I thought it was all right. I like Lucian better than Lucian Senna
Remember,
specifically.
that's why I prefaced it with like this is a very personal opinion.
Yeah, I
right?
also liked Senna better than Lucian. Like Senna alone in the original Rangers comp, where she like buffed the whole back line of Rangers. I thought that was cooler than like Lucian Senna combined was always like, I mean, it's powerful, but I don't really care.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, any closing words on that one? Like, I'm being kind of a dickbag, right? I'm being like a total game, like that like edgy gamer that's like, that's totally what I should sound like to most people. But me personally, I just don't like it, and I want them to kind of touch on some other things. Like, I love the glacial change for that, kind of like the exact same reason,
Yeah.
right? So I'm being picky choosy on
Yeah,
where I'm
well,
applying where I like it, and I'm totally aware. I just don't think that the Lucian Senna thing was a success,
I think they definitely
and
did.
I'm ready to call that.
Yeah, I don't even disagree with that. I think the glacial change makes a lot more sense because it's likely. Like glacial, I feel like is much closer to being like an evergreen mechanic that they bring back all the time. So they probably want that to be in a cool, unintended place for glacial because we might see, maybe not glacial, but maybe ice beams, huh? Space, get it? Okay, moving on to tier 3 changes. I'll just do the rest of them. Azir starting in total mana going from 75-100 down to 50-100, so making that first cast a little bit harder. Nocturne getting an attack speed buff from 0.7 to 0.8. I know Sphinxy Boy probably pretty happy about his literal dad Nocturne getting a buff there. We talked about Lucian already. Olaf, my boy, my bearded brethren, getting 100 health, going from 750 up
Beard
to
synergy
850.
win, Mort.
Yeah, what I want them to do is adjust Olaf's beard length to like reflect the fact that he has 100 more health. He's also getting his spell attack speed bonus is going from 100, 150, 450% to 125, 150, 450. So a tier 1 Olaf getting a little bit better.
Also, this is actually a pretty important bug fix along with some of the Olaf buffs. Is Olaf's spell now properly cleanses and immunizes all attack speed slowdown effects, so it wasn't doing it for all of them. And so now with that bug fix, that's another slight buff to Olaf in general, where he's going to get all. There's going to be no penalty for attack speed anymore because it was applying for in some situations with this bug. So the consistency is going to be a little bit more of a buff. Sorry, didn't want to cut you off.
No, that's good. That's good to lump in there. Singed at tier 1 is getting a buff going from 150 damage up to 225 at level 1. Level 2 and 3 are staying the same. Tarek invulnerability duration is going from 3 seconds, 5 seconds to 2.5, 2.5, 8 seconds. So if you get that tier 3 Tarek, you can sit back and relax. And then Zed, last change here, Zed is getting an attack speed buff from 1.0 up to 1.1. Huge. I want to kick this one off by talking about the Olaf change. Not because I think it's particularly impactful. I think it, will probably bring. I mean, Berserkers have been hovering around very good to medium plus and like everywhere in between, pretty much for the duration of set 2. Once they got the original 6 Berserker buff. But the reason I bring this up is because I was looking at the comments for the patch notes today. And they came out today, by the way. So they've only been out for, I don't know, maybe 6 hours at the time of this recording. And the first, there were so many comments that were like, why did you buff Olaf? Why is Olaf getting buffed? Why did he need to get buffed? He didn't need to get buffed. He's so strong. Why did you do this? He needed to get nerfed, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, this is like so much amplifies exactly what Mort has been saying. And like what we've been talking about, where it's like, Olaf is the type of champ that if you don't know how to play around him, you don't know to build a Morello or a red buff or what have you, he just dominates and can be unbeatable if you don't have something around to build around him. So I'm just curious on what you guys think about like Olaf the noob killer in air quotes getting a buff here when like literally already saw so many people complaining about it, even though he does like we looked at it last week and he's literally the least popular 4-cost champion at high elo. I mean, what do you think about that one, Mad?
I'm kind of excited. I'm excited to see how that's going to affect it because I know Olaf was like you said, with the Morellos and with the red buff, like
Mm-hmm.
he was kind of getting countered, especially on higher level. And with the Rangers, the Rangers were kind of taking him out pretty fast too
Mm-hmm.
because um he was like what close champion unit trying to
Mm-hmm.
attack fast enough, faster than a ranger who's gonna just melt him.
Yep.
So I feel like this could be a good change actually, and I think we're gonna start seeing more, especially with the additional glacial magic damage
True.
added onto that.
True.
Um, we're gonna probably start seeing a lot more glacials and the berserkers going back into it. Um, so yeah, I'm actually not upset about this. I feel like he did need to be buffed because even when I would try to play him, I was like, this is impossible to play him at this rank.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like what plat one, like that's like above, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I feel like for a higher level, it's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, I mean, I'm all aboard the Olaf train. Like, make him the best champ. I mean, the only reason I don't want him to be the like overall best champ is because then people are going to be taking my Olafs. But I want to be using him all the time. What do you think? What I want to hear the dissenters' opinion.
I like the change. I love Olaf. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, Olaf, he's just a lovable guy.
Yeah, he's just a lovable guy.
He's just a big bearded dude, man. I mean, what can you not like about a big bearded
Well,
dude? Come on.
it's so funny because like in low elo, of course he's screwing with you because he's probably helping freeze your whole team, right? But
Right.
like at high elos, he literally can't even make it to his target. And
Right.
so that's what they just don't know. It's hard for people to kind of think outside of their worldview, right? And be
Mhm.
able to see to be able to like make the jump of, even though I'm struggling with it, doesn't mean it's broken,
Mhm.
right? Because I beat it means it's weak, right? Like
Right.
I think it's really hard for a lot of people to be able to say, you know what, I have a really big problem with Olaf, but you know what, these guys who know stats and stuff might know a little bit more than me. The same exact argument you could have used against me a little earlier in terms of the Senna. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm happy to live in all of these worlds,
Right.
but in the end, like you're going up against Rangers, right? One, your Zerkers are just not really going to do much, right? Because that's the counter. And then two, you can't even walk up to an Ash without dying, no matter where
Right.
your Olaf is. You needed an Olaf 3 to work it out. So he's not glacial procking anyone because he's dead, and so are the rest of the
Right.
Zerkers. And so I think he needs this because the 100 HP is going to help him get to his ultimate that now doesn't have
Mhm.
any bugs. And
Yep.
with the glacial change, he's going to be doing a lot more on hit effects if the berserks are there too. But it's still going to be bad versus what he was already bad at.
Right.
Right? Like I don't think this is going to overcome the things that what he's good at, he's still going to be good at, he's going to be better at. What he's bad at, he's going to continue to be bad at. You're going to,
Yep.
if there's an Olaf, you have to build a Morellos. You have to build, healing uh
Reduction.
you have to build Grievous,
Mhm.
right? So
Yep.
if you're not doing that, you're just not playing the game right, and that's on you. So
Get
that's
good,
yeah.
idiot.
And and just because you disagree doesn't mean it's wrong. I wish more people in the world would live that way, but
Yeah.
it can be a little hard when you feel like your voice isn't being heard and it's being lost in the ether. It's easier to say this is trash than think about the nuances of why
Yeah.
you might be bad with Olaf versus all these other things.
Yeah. This reminds me. So the Legends of Runeterra first balance patch came out today as well, actually, and they made some changes that are specifically. I mean, it's in the similar philosophy of this change. It's like they're not balancing to bronze players, which I think, like, to me, it's like, well, yeah, just balance to the top players, like balance to the competitive meta, duh. But that's not what people always do. Like so many times in Hearthstone, I know, like I look at changes and I'm like, well, Did they really need to do that? No, they didn't, because it's just like, well, all the mobile players hated it, and like so much of their, and like I get it, they understand where they're, they understand how their bread is buttered, right? Like it's mobile players buying packs. I get that, and if they lose those players, then whatever. But it's just nice to see, and this is a perfect example. And there's a couple examples in the Runeterra patch notes as well. Granted, they're completely different teams, so the only reason I bring it up is because they're both Riot, and I'm happy about both of them. Is like they have the ability to see the stats, even though, and the Olaf change is like a perfect, like shining example of a lot of people aren't intuitively, who are at lower elo, aren't intuitively understanding why this change is happening, and in fact are calling for the opposite, but they're letting the stats for the higher ELOs dictate the decisions that they're making, because that's where the health of the game emanates from. Low ELO players can learn, and when they are going to learn, they're going to learn by watching better players. So if they nerf Olaf, he just never sees play again. He's already not seeing a ton of play. Or he was already not seeing a ton of play. So instead of being like, well, all the noobs hate him, so let's just ban him, they are like, no, let's actually buff him. And even
so there's a very good, I'll wrap this up for you,
Yeah.
because there's a really good colloquialism in regular League of Legends. There
Okay.
is a character named Master Yi.
Yeah.
That is exactly the same in League of Legends, right? So basically, if you're at home, I'm sure most people are familiar with Master Yi. If you're in any way, shape, or form associated with League of Legends,
Even
right?
I am.
He's a Blade Master in the current set, but he is the noob killer. And there's no question about it. He is the noob killer.
Mhm.
So I think the stats are something like in bronze and iron and silver, Master Yi's win rate is like obscene. But the higher you go, the lower it is, right?
Mhm.
So if you're bronze and all the information you have is Master Yi just shitting on you,
Yeah.
right? The whole time you're going to say, this guy needs a nerf,
Mhm.
right? But you don't have the proper information to be able to come to a different conclusion if you're
Right.
bronze, if you're silver, right? So that's why you're so loud about it. But you have to go through that personal growth, right? Once you kind of see, oh, if I get Grievous, because I think Grievous is incredibly overpowered in regular League of Legends right now, and no one buys it at lower elos, right? Because it's not as flashy. Everyone
Right.
just wants to do damage, right? If you buy CC,
I can
you
attest
got
to
to do
that.
CC. Yeah. So like, Master Yi's the same thing in regular League of Legends. It's the same thing here for Olaf. It's like, you know what, guys? You might not know now, but eventually, hopefully, fingers crossed, you will understand why you're wrong and you'll come over to the other side. But as of right now, those people who are outwardly calling for the opposite just don't currently have the correct information to understand the reasoning behind those numbers. Because again, like if Poison's also going to be there, Olaf is already never even getting to the ult. He was dead.
Right.
He might as well have been a one-cost unit.
True.
And a lot of those like higher elo games, right?
Right. Would have been better because you would have saved money.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of my feelings on that.
Yeah.
Tasha, do you have any closing words on any of this patch stuff?
No. This pretty much sums up everything. I feel like I said, I think everything's just going in circles right now. Like
Yeah.
something that happened at the beginning is now what's happening at the end
Wait.
versus like there was everything in the middle.
Wait, it's going in circles, moving around in speed,
Carousel.
circles, UFOs. Anybody? Set 3, it's coming. We don't have any information on set 3 yet, though. According to Mort's stream, he said that there was going to be new info coming on set 3 this week at some point. I was hoping it would be before this episode, but unfortunately, it is not.
They need to get on our timeline.
They need to get on our timeline. Is exactly correct. So that is going to be patch 10.4, everybody, and that is going to wrap up.
Wait, we got one important question.
Oh, I know. I was going to say that's going to wrap up our normal portion of the show, but we do have one more extremely important question.
The most important.
The most important. Tasha.
I mean, I don't know if there is anything more important in the world than this.
If you've made it to this point, the rest of this is makes it worth it.
All right. So no matter what your political views are, no matter what you think about the world or its leadership, answer
what's this
me
going?
this: which little legend tastes the best?
We need to know.
Oh my god.
If
Especially,
you were to pick, and you're very familiar. I've
well, I'm
seen
very
the,
familiar.
yeah, I've seen the TikTok, right? You can who okay, let's do this. Which one do you think tastes the best, and which
Okay.
one is like the underdog? Which one do you think would be surprisingly tasty?
Okay.
Is that
So
what
I
you
feel
call
like
the
we all
underdog?
would agree, like probably the Fuwa tastes
Yes,
the best,
we
right?
would all
Because-
agree with
because it's a
that because
pig.
it's obvious. Yeah.
But it's sad, and sad
Oh
meat
my
doesn't taste
God.
good.
It
Why do
tastes
we have to
delicious.
In Germany, they have something called happy cows. You drink happy milk. It's organic. Anyways, that just reminded me of that. I like to eat my happy pig.
Yeah. All right, who's your underdog, right? Because if you're like a Hydra homie, it's the River Sprite.
Yeah, you got to
The
be
river
drinking
Sprite.
some river spray.
That would be an energy drink right there.
Yeah. The
So I don't think you'd eat it. You drink it.
Oh, yeah.
uh-huh.
It's the G
I
fuel
think
of
the
Little
Fury
Legends.
Horn and the Silver Wing are all up there. But what about you? If you were to pick a second little legend, right? If you were like at it like an avant-garde restaurant, right? Which little legend
Or
would
a
you serve?
weird like a weird one of those like clubs that's illegal and they serve like ostrich
Oh, yeah, they serve, like,
egg.
mammoth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mammoth, yep.
Oh my goodness. To eat. I'm trying to think here. Maybe the feather knight.
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah. Get
bird,
some,
right? It's bird.
yeah, yeah. Get
Like
some
you ever-
buffalo feather
it's
knight.
chicken. It's basically chicken. If
Yeah,
you eat
there
the
it is.
feather knight.
Some buffalo style
I want
feather
me.
knight.
I want me the evil one, the corrupted feather knight. So it's just
Ooh.
like glowing at night. I don't know. I feel like the feather knight would be good because it's just a variation of chicken.
Mhm.
I feel like it tastes very much like chicken.
It's
Smart.
like Beyond Chicken, right?
Yeah.
It's like Beyond Meat, but it's the
But-
chicken
Yeah,
version.
Beyond-
At the
yeah,
end of
Beyond
the day,
chicken,
We all know
it-
the Riot Mort legend is gonna be the most.
Yikes.
Totally agreed.
Now we're never getting it because we're gonna. That's what's holding it back. More has it the art readied and made, but he knows that if it gets released, that we're gonna talk about eating it, so he can't release it to the world. It's an ethical dilemma that we've created for every little legend that gets made is now going to be taught. It's literally whenever they come out with new little legends, we're going to have a portion of an episode talking about where they stack. On
There
the tier
is a
list.
skin line where they like make them all desserts, right? So I'm fingers crossed we get something from that like Sweet Sensation skin line. That'd be awesome.
A dessert skin line. I would love that.
Yeah, right. That'd be sick.
I mean, I
We
want
got desert
and dessert.
Dessert.
Wow.
That's what they did on our challenges. The desert got the buff during the desert challenge.
Nice.
Picking challenge.
So good.
Yeah.
That's so
Fun.
awesome. But I mean, we are. I think the FUA is very quickly pulling ahead. Sorry, Wonder Mellow. I know you love the FUA, but I also love the FUA and its taste. It's delicious bacon, so good. But that is gonna be it for this episode. Madhatter, thank you so much for
Thank you
coming
guys
on
for
the
having
show.
me.
We loved having you on, and now is the time to sell out, shout out, plug whatever you want. This is the time. You have the ear of the
Shamelessly
people.
plug. Yes, so you guys can find me everywhere. Madhatter XX3. Literally Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch. Twitch is the big one.
Mhm.
Deviant art. I don't know. I think I have something on there.
Okay, boomer.
Live journal.
Just look up Madhatter XX3 and you're gonna find everything about me. Back up to when I was like 14. But we're gonna not talk about
Which was
those
what,
days.
last year or?
Yeah, last year.
Shut up, Glenn.
yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, well, guys, make sure you are following everything that Madhatter is doing. I'll have the links in the description for that as well as our stuff. Make sure you're going to discord.me/Little Legends Podcast. That is the place. All of our links are housed there. Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, all that good stuff is going to be there. Everything that we're putting out is there. And keeping up with the news, we've got a very active community. We've got all sorts of folks. And game nights. Don't forget about game nights on Fridays at 9 Eastern at twitch.tv/GiantSlayer. Boop, where can people find you on the internet when you're not here?
At Buposaurus Rex or Farmers Only.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Sorry. You can find me at Buposaurus Rex.
I don't even know where that was going. You lost me, but that's okay.
Them farmers are gonna know where I was going.
I guess so. You lost me, but you know where you can find me? Discord.me/Little Legends Podcast. It's where all the cool kids are, including Mad Hatter. But for Mad Hatter, for Boop, I'm the Blevins. That was episode number 28 of Little Legends Podcast. We'll see you guys next week. We're talking about, hopefully, fingers crossed, some set 3 stuff. It's going to be fun. We'll see you then.
Ready for